Oscar Marzaroli was quite a unique person. He was born in Italy and he had quite a troubled background. He had 3 brothers who died in childhood, and he was back and forward between Italy and Glasgow. His parents set up here and they had a fish shop and a cafe in Byres Road, and their life was their work. So the children had quite a tough time growing up. It meant a lot of ill health through his childhood, resulting in him having TB when he was 18. And I think that was a turning point from Oscar, because he used to tell me that he was living on borrowed time. For him, the camera became his documentation of his life. Taking the photographs was about capturing that moment in time. He had quite a strong socialist view about the world, a very egalitarian man, somebody who thought we were all really equal and had that sense of reverence towards others. And he brought that warmth with him. And I think you can see that in the kind of photographs that he took. The first photograph I'm going to talk about is the nurse from the Crampian Sanatorium in Kingussie. And that's a very poignant image. It was an image where he had suffered from TB and he was up there having respite. And at the time, he was a very ill man and wasn't really expected to live. He started with his camera really probably at that point, and there's that warmth that comes across, because the one thing that Dad was able to do was to bring out warmth in people. He really felt he was saved when he went there. For years after that, we went back. We stayed in the Cairngorms many times. We climbed mountains. For him, that was his place of suffering and renewal and growth and change. The next image evokes for me what Dad was really about, was the changing face of Glasgow. Buildings coming down, structures going back up, and that metamorphosis of the city that he loved. That sense of light and the change of light that he would have been waiting for, just to catch that moment where it becomes breathtaking rather than just a picture or a recording of a city. This photograph, he's perched high. I always think about how he managed to get as high as he was. Was he on the roof? He's looking down with all this community below, and the washing line and the sense of people around the windows, people hanging out windows, people looking out windows. There's a whole sense of community there that Dad felt he never had in his lifetime. That was hard for him, coming from Italy and going back and forward to Italy all his childhood. But he didn't really feel he belonged anywhere, and Glasgow was his chosen city, and when he did feel he belonged in this environment, all he wanted to do was capture communities at their very best. This is a marvellous little image of this wee girl. I've always felt that he didn't capture deprivation or social destitution. He wasn't interested in all of that. He was again about community and spirit and people having a place where they belonged and could grow up together. Quite a sad image in many ways. Dad felt that society had been torn down. He had that sense where things were disappearing and in its place were new structures, and Dad was really into the sort of emotive element of this, capturing the people in their place and their feelings. When I was younger, my sister and I, Nicola, used to go to football with my dad. He was a huge Celtic fan. He did take images from time to time, and these images are very personal to him rather than them just being a document or a record of something that's happened. He's captured this image of these faces, every single one looking passionately at their beloved team. There's that focus and concentration in every face, and you could actually sit and look at that image for some time and catch that sense of anticipation. The image of the 2 men and the shaft of light on either side. So there's very little information in this, except you can clearly see the 2 men looking into the furnace. Dad had a fascination for industry in Glasgow, an industry that was dying and changing. And the fact that these were people that worked in these industries, they worked hard, they had that diligence, they had that dedication to their jobs and pride. And I think he captured all of that. Even if he'd been filming or working on something, he had that opportunity to engage with people. And I think these particular ones in Kelvin Bridge are just beautiful. You know, the men just having a wee chat with him. Oscar was really funny. He was a very humorous man, and he could see humour in lots of things. And he would have a wee joke with someone that put people at ease really, really easily. Or he'd tweak their ear, or he'd have a big broad handshake, or he would say something that was very sensitive or empathic. Really, really striking image again of flats going up. Tenements had been pulled down, and it was really quite sad to him. And in its place where the Red Road flats, for example, were built from this sort of low point of view or perspective, where you're almost looking up at these massive structures going up. There's a sense of geometry and almost symmetry about it, and that sense of awe and wonder about what's going to change for communities and people, given that these structures are very different from the tenements and the tenement way of life. The Castlemilk lads, now becoming a very iconic image. Oscar would have been chatting to them. I believe they had been on a run, and the boys came over and they were maybe inquisitive, wondering why he had a camera, what this camera was, because it would have been a Rolleiflex, quite unusual camera, which would have been down near his waist. And in that 1 second where the young man at the front just looks away, whatever he's captured there in that face is really poignant. And the wee lad just up on his tiptoes behind, resting on the shoulder, and the quieter wee guy at the back just peeking out. No one is posing. They were very much themselves. And in that moment, he captured the character of each of these young men. And having met them later on with my mum and my sister, the 3 men were very much like the image. Charlie at the front was quite bold and strong and charismatic, and had quite a tough life growing up and had been part of the sort of gang culture in his day. And the lad in the middle was actually quite a funny man, but you had his sombre moments and difficulties in his life too. And the quieter one at the back, he's quite a gentle person as well when you meet him too. Oscar went up to the Highlands and Islands quite a bit. He was making films at that point. The Golden Road, Isle of Harris, is just a beautiful image. What was magic about Dad's work is even if there was a sense of desolation and emptiness, you still got an essence of people belonging there and people being part of something, and that sense of honesty that they've left out all their wares, hoping that somebody, will maybe buy something and leave the money. That sense of trust that in some ways in society nowadays is kind of gone. The bull is kind of looking at Dad. He looks as if he's about to charge. The arched back and the arches of all the mountains in the background is really beautiful. And it's almost like he's sizing up Dad, who was a big man, 6 foot. My father would not have been wavered either way. He would have stayed quite still to capture that shot. Dad had his cameras with him all the time. He would wait for a change of light. He had that wee bit of patience just to wait for a few minutes more, because he knew something would change, because he had that sense of light and darkness, which is very much who he was. He could see that things would change. Oscar died very young. He was only 57, and I think there was a great sadness when he died because of his character as a person. And after he died, for us as a family, we wanted to keep that alive, because his work has been kept alive through his photographs. And I think for a wee while there, it has been quite quiet too. The work was all in our homes, kind of hidden away. And it's been fantastic that there's been this resurgence now, that GCU have taken on the archive and that we've had this opportunity to have another exhibition. I hope that this work will continue to grow and people will continue to see the breadth and the depth of what he did, capturing that moment in time, capturing the city he loved.